What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing, man? This one hit me, right? Because I was one of these people that he was talking about in this song. I just wanted to go over the song that you heard for the first time yesterday, and I just wanted to drop it on y'all, man. Y'all know. Hold on. I gotta set this computer up properly.
I deconstructed long before people knew what to call it. I know that's scary to some folks, so hold on, let me pause it. Take you back to how it started. Maybe you relate. Maybe you ain't never met me, but you know my pain. Focused on Jesus in Atlanta, fresh from Tennessee. Wasn't legalistic, catch me.
He said, maybe you ain't never met me, but you knew my pain. Yeah, that's real, man. It's like we all going through the same. We in the same war. You know what I mean? The war is 24/7. It ain't no neutral in this spiritual war. And he's attacking us. The enemy is attacking us 24/7. Like we all suffer. We all hit the same pain. We all get attacked. We all are tempted with things in our mind. You know what I mean? At different levels, on different phases, different circumstances, but it's the same things that Jesus went through. It's the same thing that we gotta go through. You know what I mean? The difference between us and Jesus is he passed all his tests. Excuse me. We know that some of our tests we're gonna fail.
Cup of Hennessy. I was speaking churches, hang with leaders and such. You know, Judah, Piper, and Keller. Tony Evans was clutch. I was so involved. Never thought that I could fall, y'all. Right before the fall.
So now my question is, all the people that he talking about he was dealing with, like the people that would be considered elders, you know, did they know what he was struggling with? Did they know how he was operating? Did they know how he was moving or what he was doing? What type of advice did they have for him? Did they say something to him? If they did know, did he allow them to speak into his life? You know what I mean? But it's serious though. Like, I'm not even about the lyrics for this one. This one is about the story for me. You know what I mean? Because like people put people in positions and then mock and ridicule them when they don't live up to the standards of a position that you put them in. You know what I mean? I say you as in society, we as in society, we as in whatever the niche or the genre or the portion of humanity that looks, feels, acts, and does these certain things, and that look to these certain people or have an affinity for these certain people or can appreciate these certain people for what they do for this specific genre. These people, as a general, put these people as a specific in a position that a lot of these people, most people I would say, aren't prepared for. You know what I mean? It was a guy named Pastor Richard, History Makers University, not History Makers University, History Makers International, excuse me. He was like, there's a measure of praise, honor, and exaltation that a person can receive. Like there's a measure before it's going to tip over into pride. You know what I mean? But
2015, I was all off. It involved killing Michael Brown. Had me feeling down. Tweet about it. Christians call me clown. I was losing ground. And Bodie was a hero of mine. Met with him plenty times. This time when he spoke, it cut me deeper than I realized.
Obviously, people did say something to him. He said, Bodie Balkman had said something to him, and it cut him deep. He was talking about Michael Brown. When Michael Brown fell, and there was a lot of stuff going on behind what happened with him. Like he said he had something to say about that. But in the midst of you talking about Michael Brown, you're going through your own nonsense. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us do that too. Like I'm just spitting off of the heels of the Kingdom Music situation. You know what I mean? And he was going hard. Like, you know, Brian T went heavy against sin and against immorality, and let his wife say it allegedly, whatever the case may be. I don't know the facts behind the situation. The truth will reveal itself. I don't believe he's spoken about it yet, but allegedly he's been committing some of the same sins that he speaks so hard against. So it's a walk, man. It's a marathon. It's a journey. It's a journey. We gotta appreciate each other on the journey, man, and we gotta appreciate the journey itself. You feel me?
Double down, spoke about my pain. I was met with blame. Shame on you, Cray. Stop crying, get back to Jesus' name. Cut me deep. I was losing sleep. God ain't these your sheep. Why they hate me like they do? Maybe grace is really cheap. Maybe this is all a lie. They don't really love me. They just love it when I say the things they want to hear in public.
Yo, how many times, man? How many times people turn against you when you don't agree with them? I mean, how many times you say something that goes against their whatever the spectrum of it is the conversation is, and you just don't agree. You don't want to jump on their wagon. Everybody else in the conversation could be jumping on their wagon. You don't want to jump on their wagon. Like, the church is a peculiar place. I love the church. I love the body. The buildings is buildings of fellowship. The church is the people, and I love the people, man. I love the people. It's hard to deal with the people sometimes, you know what I mean, because they are people, and it's hard to deal with me sometimes. Ask my wife, you know what I mean. Ask my children. Ask people that know me and love me. Like it's hard to deal with people. The closer you get to people, sometimes it's hard to deal with them. And then it might be a dynamic where you dealing with a person on a certain level, but they seeing you at another level. Like, it's perception and perspective. We have to look from the other person's perspective, but you can't let your perception view truth. The truth is, our relationship is here. But your perception is that our relationship is here because of whatever the case may be. Social media, you know what I mean? And different things, the music, whatever I say in the music, it touches you. You feel, like, in all reality, we're not that close. So that means two things. That means if I do something negative, it shouldn't affect you in that heavy of a manner. And when you say something, it shouldn't affect me in that heavy of a manner because our relationship is that close. But you're supposed to be, I understand what his perspective, you're supposed to be projecting yourself as a child of God. These are the congregations and the people and the church and the body and everybody that is like, Hosanna, Hosanna on one end, crucify him on the other, my G. Like, this is what happens. This is what happens. And everybody deals with it differently. And from what he's saying, he dealt with it by going back to familiar substances and familiar spirits, which is what, you know, some of us do in the body. We go back to familiarity. We go back to comfort zone. We go back to things that were crutches in our former life. That we when we're grasping at straws, those are the things that, you know, as a false anchor. Christ is the only anchor. And in those times of desperation, in those times of despair, in those times of negativity, in those times that we think there's no one else, man, there's always him. There's always him.
Like following they God, me turning on black people. Is black evil? Why do they hate and attack people?
Yo, like, I'm gonna be honest, that was one of my things with dude. It was like, yo, like social justice warrior, like that ain't. In my perspective, is like it's a delicate situation because, you know, Jesus wants people to be treated equally. Love your neighbor as yourself. You know what I mean? But in the context of how things are working, in the context of how things are unfolding, there need to be more protections in place for people that are abused more, You know what I mean? Or is it a skewed vision that they're giving us of abuse? That's things I think need to be researched more before come to a heavy conclusion. But like I said, there was a lot of people I remember, and me included, tagging them with the social justice tag as opposed to you ain't Christian no more. These things have happened over the course of maybe 3 to 5 years, and there's been a lot that has happened. It hasn't changed my view of the theology and what the word says. It just changed my view of how I see people. I mean, how I view people in their struggles, and how I view how people go through their struggles. You know what I mean? So, just giving me a different perspective on life, man. Help me love people better, man. Just from personal experiences and things that have happened.
Vulnerable and cautious, I'm reading Baldwin. Ta-Nehisi got me thinking, now I'm going all in. I ain't know if God was real no more. Every day we getting killed and I can't deal no more. I started slipping in the darkness, I'm feeling heartless. Christians got me traumatized, I don't know who God is. Drinking liquor for my therapy and smoking Mary.
See, that's the thing, it goes back to what I said before, man. We can't. My wife says this a lot, man. She talks about immaturity. People having platforms that are immature, spiritually immature, that haven't really, weathered the test of faith. Because faith is a test. Faith is a muscle that's built. So when you pass certain levels of faith, you get to harder levels of faith. When you pass those levels of faith, you get to even harder levels of faith. In your faith, muscle has to grow as the circumstance requires. You know what I mean? And sometimes when people get platforms, get finances, get attention, get power, get things, get earthly position and earthly pleasure, they trying to find the right term. They lose sight. You know what I mean? They lose sight. People lose sight of what's really important when all the rest of these things begin to cloud your vision. First, they become peripheral. You see them on the side. Ooh, wait, gotta look at this. Ooh, wait, gotta look at this. Ooh. And then they become into the main vision. They go from being peripheral, because you keep looking at it, you're drawing it into your main vision. So you're looking out here, and now you're you know what I mean? So it's deep. Yo, this song is deep, bro. This song is deep. I would suggest y'all go and check it out, man. I don't know how y'all feel about Lecrae, but I would suggest y'all go check it out.
Maybe I should get divorced, I don't know why she married me. What's the purpose, what's the point? Nothing matters, I'm just matter, I'm just atoms. Ain't no Eve and ain't no Adam. What is Zaddies, let me at him. I was floating in confusion until I dropped. Woke up in a clinical depression, then it all stopped. Sinning like Saul till I hit Damascus. God knocked me off the mule before I hit the cat.
See, that's the thing, all of that stuff is the enemy. That's the attack. You know what I mean? We don't understand it, we don't recognize it, and we don't view it in the proper visionary position. We're looking at it as we're going through it, as opposed to looking at it from the Holy Ghost perspective of everything else that's going around. This is not the people around you. This is not God's intention for you. This is the enemy manipulating and twisting and plotting and plotting and knowing that if I could get you, then that's you gonna take a bunch. And if I could get a bunch, that's gonna take a bunch more with a bunch more. You know what I mean? So we gotta recognize that when these things happen, and in the midst of these things taking place, and the thoughts coming in our mind, and the visions coming through the screen, and the influence coming through the people, that this is, when it's negative, when it's unbiblical, and when it's ungodly, it is the enemy. There's only one of two places it's coming from. The flesh is your enemy. So if it's a thought provoked from a desire of the flesh, it's in team with the enemy. It's a partner with the enemy. If it's a thought provoked from a desire of the spirit, it's team God, it's team Jesus. That's where we need to roll with. And we don't realize the bombardment that we receive on a daily basis, man. The enemy don't sleep. It's 24/7 war, man, for sure.
Heard a faint voice calling me late. I couldn't sleep. It said, Cray, I know you love me. I need you to feed my sheep. Tears streaming as I weep. Felt I heard the Lord speak. I've been running from you, but you never ran away from me. It was people that hurt me. It wasn't God, though. I let the church trauma turn into a God.
Peep that. It took for him to go back to a place of such despair that everything else, he couldn't even concentrate on nothing else but the voice of God. You know what I mean? It's easier said than done. I say this all the time. It's easier said than done. But we need to start with the focus on the voice of God and not end up focusing on the voice of God. You know what I mean? That's the story of all of us. That's the story of all of us. We try to figure it out on our own. We be gliding for a hot second. The enemy let us coast for a split second. Some of us is longer coasting time than others. You know what I mean? But the longer you coast, the harder you crash. So the enemy will allow us to make it seem as though we're making progress or we're getting to where we might want to be, or there are things happening and doors are opening, and then all of a sudden you end up on your knees, on your face again, not realizing how you got from Z back to A, and it's like been however much long time, and you don't realize what relationships you destroyed and how you and what decisions you made that and you back down on your knees and you back like how it's because you took the wheel. Like, you allowed the enemy to deceive you to think you were in control. And that's what happens. And when people do it, it's people influence, you know what I mean? Characters influence, the enemy influence, we influence ourselves, and it's up to us to divert all of those distractions and focus. Focus on the voice of God. When he focused on the voice of God, he recognized that all of the things that he would focus on was unnecessary to be focused on because God was the only focus necessary. That's what I got from this little part.
I learned the Western world has twisted up the scriptures. So when I re-enlisted, I learned the Eastern context, the way that Jesus meant it. My peace has been cemented, my soul has been relifted. My deconstruction ended, reconstruction is beginning. My peace has been cemented, my soul has been relifted. My deconstruction ended, reconstruction is beginning.
Yeah, man, that was dope. I like that. That was dope. I begin to say, I don't have a heaven to give you or a hell to send you to. All I can tell you is what the words say. And that's what I would like to, illuminate through some of the music that I present or that I review. They call it a review. I just want to let you know I just want to present to you some of the biblical music that I enjoy listening to. I just heard this song yesterday. Today is the 4th or the 5th of February. I just heard this song yesterday for the first time. I guess it was a couple years old, but I really wasn't rocking with Lecrae. So I seen him on the podcast, and I seen he had different things going on. I'm like, cool, man. But I didn't realize the transition because I didn't pay attention, But I respect him coming out and admitting the wrongs. I respect him, saying that he had to come back to his first love. Okay, man, I deconstruction joined by Lecrae. God bless.